And we're back. We are
We're
back.
back.
Oh, we're back. We're back. We're back, baby. And we're not in Paris, but there's some players in Paris, I'm sure. I don't want to elaborate on this. Anyways, these two teams, one of them has a very cryptic name, the other has a very straightforward one. Because, well, I'll just ask you, Rissa, do you know who BOBS is? Do you know who's in BOBS?
I don't actually. Do you?
I do. And so, see, this is Brian, a player that most people are familiar with, was on Team Olive, later Ghost Gaming, and they've been a top player for so long on that backline role, mostly on the Charger and on the Explosion more recently. So yeah, that's the B part, right? Then you've got Omega, an NA player known for playing what's it called? Carbon Roller. There we go.
Carbon.
My bad. But I don't know if they're gonna play that. I don't know if we're gonna see any Carbon today. Anyways, that's the O. Then we got Ben, a French player who was in Isaac Queen, a high-level French team. That's the second B, and then you got Synapse, a member of DNA, a high-level NA team. So it really is DNA. So yeah, and that's BOBS because BOBS, right?
Get it?
I like that name.
Then, so we see here on the stream, of course, BOBS is going to be against We're in Paris, Tommy Echo, Trizzy, Nepia, Majin, and Yeti. We get to see, I think, some more brush gameplay with Trizzy playing this. If, since there are 5 people on the roster, we'll have to see who is going to be playing this first set here. And we are actually going to hop right into it, looking at these comps as well. We get to see, so we do get to see the brush that I mentioned, and then we also get to see the carbon roller on the side of BOBS. Omega coming out with that carbon roller. And this is going to be quite the starting match here, starting out on Flounder Heights Rainmaker.
Yeah, quite the polarizing map, Rissa. In this map, this map can end very, very shortly, and it can also devolve into a very spawn trappy kind of playstyle if you can't get back into mid. But right now, it seems like both teams are taking the not such an aggressive stance as Omega does. Get a pick or an assisted pick onto Trizzy, the brush player on the enemy side, but with this tactically getting popped from the side of BOBS, it seems like they want to start a push. Unfortunately, they do have a player down, and there were a couple of triple ink strikes running down in mid, and now with 2, 3 even players going down on the side of BOBS, it seems like We're in Paris is going to start their own push, but they need to grab the Rainmaker. They need this checkpoint, but they get picked off before they can get there.
Yeah, Synapse just hanging it out on that wall, just waiting for the Rainmaker to come up. That kind of patience can definitely pay off like we just saw. And just like that, BOBS actually grabbing the Rainmaker, pushing it to get the lead by a few points there, and wasn't able to get to the first checkpoint, but was able to get the lead. This is a really interesting Rainmaker map. I mean, there's so many different angles where players can be approaching from, flanking from, and we're getting to see the chaos of it right now as both teams are just constantly trying to make sure they're watching over these ledges and these flanks and playing around these specials in this top mid area.
Yeah, a lot of specials getting popped, and the tactical really adds to the chaos that you were talking about, because it just makes the gameplay so much faster and it can be so much more explosive. And as I just said, explosive, 3 of the members on BOBS just exploded out of nowhere. Now Nepia wants to grab this Rainmaker and just jump it onto this pedestal. They get the first checkpoint, they have the lead. And with all these specials getting popped and with 2 picks on the board for them, they want to extend it, and they're in such a good position to do so, Rissa. Echo here getting the pop, and Trizzy grabbing the Rainmaker, pushing it to 26. That's quite a strong push.
Yeah, that was a really strong push. I love the recognition from everyone on We're in Paris, and they were just consistently, if they were around the Rainmaker and able to grab it, they were, and it wasn't necessarily one person or the other had to grab the Rainmaker. Everyone was making sure, okay, I have this opening, I'm going to grab the Rainmaker and just keep pushing down points. And quite I think they really played really well off of the crab too. That crab just consistently coming out from Tommy, able to create a lot of space and get in the space they needed for those big points. Now with one member down on the side, two members down on the side of We're in Paris, potentially BOBS here might be able to get in a position to get a push going. Now there's three members down. Synapse here creating a really good opening for the Rainmaker, but Tommy just here instantly able to shut down that Rainmaker, do a really, really, really good job at just shutting down that push.
Yeah, the fact that Synapse missed the fact that Tommy was there already creeping up is so crucial for them, because look, it's that just neutralized that entire push. And look at this now, Majin is already grabbing this Rainmaker and pushing it into enemy territory, it seems, along with Trizzy. And yeah, that was such a good lurk, and that was so unfortunate for BOBS.
Yeah, sharks like that, if you aren't careful, can really just completely shut down everything like we just saw. And now with Majin carrying the Rainmaker for We're in Paris and just stalling it out, the longer that they stall it out here, with only a minute left of this match, the harder it's going to be for BOBS to even get in a position to paint and get into mid and get specials ready for a push of their own. So a lot of stalling from We're in Paris, but that's exactly what they needed to do if they want to make sure that they are not letting BOBS get the lead. Now BOBS in control of the Rainmaker. We see Brian there carrying the Rainmaker, trying to just push forward. And they actually, I thought Tommy might be able to get that pick again, but Brian here able to drop down on the first checkpoint and at least get the checkpoint.
Yeah, at this point of the game, a trade for the checkpoint does seem good, because Brian is just going to be able to jump back into mid. And look at this, We're in Paris is popping every special. Omega unfortunately does go down, so that might mean, along with that second pick in favor and even a third one in favor of We're in Paris, that this game will be closed out probably in their favor. BOBS does get the pop, but they're in no position to grab, and if they do, there's tri-strikes all over them. Ben, can he do it? No, he cannot. Trizzy chases him, and that is game one going to We're in Paris.
Ooh, that I really felt the chaos of that. Flounder Heights, I think, is no matter what the mode, it can just feel really chaotic. There's so many different avenues that you can flank and approach the objective from your side of the map, from the other team's side of the map, under the bridge. There's just so much that can be going on. So I definitely felt the chaos there, and it seemed like We're in Paris was able to really capitalize on that chaos and play off of it really nicely, make sure that they had specials ready for their push, had their sharks that they needed, and that played out very well for them. And now we will be moving into game 2 here, which is going to be Splat Zones on Museum. Dura, how do you feel about this one?
Okay, I thought you were asking me for the proper pronunciation of Dalfonsino, but well,
there we go. Now we know.
I said it anyways. Well, I really like this map, but maybe some players don't. I do feel like both of these teams will really like this map, because I think Brush can get away with some sneaky plays here, and with some dropping off the side, and then, you know, just kind of, hey, look at me, and then their team just sandwiches them. That sounds good. But also the Carbon. If the Carbon positions on that right area, the little plat, that is a very good ledge to just vertical flick over. And that can be brutal with them. Yeah,
that could be really brutal. And I could see on this map too, if that Brush on We're in Paris, and then if that's Trizzy, and then if Omega on the Carbon for BOBS is able to get the flanks down correctly, I could see that being really deadly for either team. So when you're playing this map, you always want to be making sure you're watching that left drop for if it's your team and you're looking at that left flank, left drop, because it could get really sneaky, and if you aren't paying attention, that could be really detrimental. So I could see absolutely the Brush or the Carbon playing off of that really well for their team.
Now, do we expect backliners in this map mode? Because I will say this Splat Zones is the mode right now that favors backliners the most, and we are in a lobby with Brian. So, well, I guess only time will tell. Rissa, because we are jumping right into this one. Splat zones on Museum d'Alfonsino. It is match point for We're in Paris, but it could be the start of a reverse for BOBS. And here we go, ready. What's up?
And speaking of seeing a backliner, we do see Brian going on the Explo here for Bob. So quite the comp switch up. And then we get to see that sword coming out from Omega instead of a carbon roller this time. On the other side, though, We're in Paris sticking with the same comp that they had. And it played so well for them for that first game. And look at all of this mid control instantly taken from We're in Paris. Just like that. They were able to take mid. And we just see Trizzy sharking up there on the other team's plat. They are set up waiting.
Ooh, but they're waiting just to get splatted instantly because Synapse realizes where they are, and that is an instant pick. And look at this, they are moving with the pick so fast. This Booyah Bomb might be able to stop them as Trizzy jumps back in, but no, Ben here gets picked off, as well as Synapse Nepia going huge here. Only Brian left alive on this team. Trizzy kind of menacing him. Hey, do not come close to this ledge. Don't do it. Omega already dropped on this left side. Does have the Zipcaster ready. Looking for a pick here. Just squid rolling around. Pops the Zipcaster, but gets picked off by that killer whale alongside some shots. And that is a 2-down situation for BOBS. No backliner, no stamper. Trizzy here doing a lot of damage on this right side. Looking for this duel. Manages to scare them off and induce a jump back there, Rissa. This is very good control for We're in Paris.
Yeah, really good control. They seem like they've consistently been keeping this mid control. And with BOBS initially taking the zone there and giving those penalty points over to We're in Paris, you can see here what they're trying to do that once again. They have both teams actually have a killer whale out. Both teams trying to just make sure they do everything they can to fight for the zone. And with one member down on the side of BOBS, now 2 members down, looks like that mid control and mid presence is still going to be sticking for We're in Paris. They are just consistently watching all the ledges and making sure that they play really nicely together, pairing really nicely to make sure they guard the zone.
Yeah, Omega there with a really nice damage combo to get a pick, trying to bait that other enemy player into pushing them with the backwards squid roll. But ooh, these tri-strikes are so dangerous. Omega somehow stayed alive, but it's only 3 ticks left. They need to flip this on, and they're not going to do it. That is match point. That is match going for We're in Paris. I did not expect that, Rissa.
I didn't either. You could see the zone was neutral there right at the last possible second, and BOBS was doing a really good job at almost capping the zone and painting it, again, to at least stall it out a little bit more to give those penalty points to We're in Paris. But We're in Paris just had the upper hand, had the specials and presence ready, able to just paint it and completely KO that. And We're in Paris going to be moving on through the winner's side of the bracket, sending BOBS down to the loser's side.
Yeah, I really want to know what Jem has to say about this one. So, Rissa, why don't we send it over to him?
So, this is a match, between some very heavy-hitting players. I have heard of just about everybody on Team BOBS and followed them pretty extensively, especially, Synapse is a 52 player. Brian from some work that I've done with him in content creation, so lots and lots of experience with those players, but I don't know how much they have played with each other. It seemed like there was a little bit of a lack of decisiveness that was happening on Team BOBS, and I think that was the primary thing that was causing them to have a little bit of trouble. We're starting off on Flounder Rainmaker, and both teams here seem to be favoring the left side push on Flounder Rainmaker. They like going for that first checkpoint on the left-hand side. It is tempting because you can definitely just jump right off and land on top of it. But notice here, BOBS goes for it, immediately gets walled out, and they're never actually able to make it. The Rapid Blaster shuts that down. And that, I think, was kind of the story of a lot of pushes by BOBS. They tried to go for a fast break. They tried to go for something to just get the quick points. And because of that, they were never really able to protect their Rainmaker carrier. And I think part of that comes down to the checkpoint choice. I've gone out there on record and said that I personally don't like the left checkpoint there. I think that the right-hand side is actually a lot safer because you have cover going all the way around and you have high ground once you get there. It's a little bit longer to get there, but I also think that it's safer and it sets up for a better push once you get that first checkpoint, because being on the low ground there, well, it's just you and some open ground between them and the enemy team. Now, we do see it working here for We're in Paris, and part of that is because of the specials that they use here. Look at, they've got a crab, they've got a whale out, they pop the Booyah Bomb. How in the world is BOBS going to exist anywhere near it while all of that is going on? So really well coordinated play, they just brute force it up the choke point, and this ends up being the score that wins them the game. Ultimately, there's not really much BOBS is able to do about this, but they definitely did a great job on We're in Paris in this stall in the trench right here. This push has absolutely no intention of actually moving forward towards the goal. Like, it's really well pointed out by Arissa that this is a stall tactic. They're putting players in between BOBS and the Rainmaker and just keeping the Rainmaker here. Because even if the Rainmaker goes down, like it eventually does, now they're on low ground, and it's going to take BOBS forever to get this up and over the side to create a push of their own. So again, that's going to test their decisiveness, and I think that that was what was missing here, especially with, you know, the Tacticooler comp, especially with, you know, such aggressive weapons that Team BOBS is running here. They needed to pick a point and say, we're going now. And I don't think that that really ever happened too much for them. They tended to get the Rainmaker pushed up ahead of its defenders instead of letting the defenders push up in front of it first. And so even here, when they do get the checkpoint, Brian is immediately taken down. Other players are at low ground trying to contest for the Rainmaker, and it's just not that easy for them to go and pick it up. And I think from the right-hand side, they would have had an easier time. So that's my take. Game 2 on Zones Museum here. This was a really interesting comp decision from We're in Paris. I really like the especially choice of the sloshing machine and the brush for this map because of where they're able to shark, and we'll take a look at that a little bit later. But first I want to talk about one of my favorite weapons, the 52 Gal. We're in Paris ends up getting 2 down, and they quickly put someone up on top of the plat. We see Trizzy up here on the brush trying to shark people out, and this is one of the things I like about the 52 Gal. Synapse comes out here and does not care that there is a flank. Synapse knows exactly how to check this. There's a wall in the way, they splat it down, and they're able to take it out. But what Trizzy and the machine end up doing is sharking in the left side pit more often throughout this game, as we can see a little bit later on. And that's able to set up for good picks for them, like we see at the very bottom side there, for them to be able to hold the zone, and then they just piled on the specials at the very end, right when they were close to being able to KO. So really well played and interesting comp decisions by We're in Paris.